All right. Hello and welcome. How are you, Eric?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate you taking the time to chat and let's make this a fun conversation.
So we want to talk about you. We want to get to know you a little bit more. We see you sometimes in the more formal setting of all hands and things like that. We want to know who is Eric Wu. So can you tell
Okay,
us a little?
that's a formal setting. Okay, we'll
Well,
make this very casual then.
right on. Can you tell us what is your specific ethnic background?
So my parents are Taiwanese. They're both born in Taiwan. My dad is a local, and then my mom's side immigrated from Shanghai. Her mother was born in Shanghai, but immigrated to Taiwan. So I kind of view myself as Taiwanese American, if you know to be specific.
Do you speak the language of Taiwan?
I don't. It's actually the local language is mostly Mandarin, so I speak a little Chinese. And there is actually it was Taiwan was controlled by the Japanese in the 1800s for a period of time, and so my grandmother speaks Japanese as well. But I speak a little Chinese and but mostly English now.
Ah, right on. So, but you grew up in Arizona, correct?
I was born in Tennessee of all places, and then I moved
Wow.
to Arizona when I was very young, at the age of 2. But I grew up in Phoenix for by all
Very much.
accounts.
Awesome. That's cool. That's one I hadn't heard of. What kind of kid were you? Were you like quiet, bookworm, class clown?
I definitely was not a class clown. I probably was most likely a bookworm. I'll tell this one story where my mom would drop me off at daycare. She was a single parent and would drop me off, and she would set me down and put one toy in front of me, and she'd come back 8 hours later or 6 hours later, where the time frame was, and I would still be sitting in the same spot with the same toy. And there's this kind of a Chinese word called guai. It's like how guai. It's like very obedient, or kind of calm and follows the rules. I was definitely that as a young child. So I probably most closely identified to the bookworm. But my sisters encouraged me to branch out, and I joined clubs and competed in sports as well in high school.
Oh, you played sports. What did you play?
I was best at track and field. And then I played basketball in high school, but I wasn't very good.
Okay, what was your event in track?
I was best at long jump, but actually I did some javelin. I was a decathlete as well. What I realized is that I had like reached my plateau athletically. But if track is one of those things where if you just put in more work, you get slightly better.
Mhm.
And so I decided to get maybe average to above average at all of the different events. And so decathlon ended up being my best overall event.
Nice. Okay. So can you tell us what did 12-year-old Eric want to be when he grew up? And is he pleased today?
Is he pleased? That's a tricky question. I really wanted to be a scientist when I was younger. I was really curious about all things science and math when I was young, and my older sister had skipped a couple grades, which I think was probably net negative in the long run. But I really got ahead in math and science in grade school, and actually went to high school part-time when I was in grade school for math and science. But is he pleased? Uh, Maybe I'll create some natural tension here. I think he'd be impressed by my professional progress, but very disappointed by my personal progress. And so
Oh
there's been some
man.
compromises along the way, and I think he would be impressed by what I've accomplished, and then fairly disappointed about my life outside of work.
Awesome. So you think he'd tell you to find more balance?
Yeah, in full disclosure, I'm 40 years old. I am single. I don't have kids. I kind of always envisioned when I was younger, especially I was effectively raised by 3 women, my mom and my 2 sisters. and they both have kids. It's been part of their life journey and human experience. They love it, and I always imagine by the time I was even in my 30s, I would, be married with kids, and so definitely pretty far behind on that front.
Well, I'm sure that that'll come in time. You seem like a really focused kind of individual, and I know you won't have any troubles there.
Okay. You can
So,
call my mom and tell her that. Thank you.
yeah, we can arrange a open door dating game if you like. I
No, no, that is definitely not what I want. Yeah.
mean, okay, the offer stands. So, so are you into gaming? Like, what's some of the things that you like to do just for Eric?
I really do. I used to love video games. So I wasn't allowed to play video games when I was younger. It was a pretty strict household, and so I remember going to my friend's place and just like playing Nintendo until I had to leave and not even conversing with other people. Um, and so I played a lot of games. I played Street Fighter, I played Halo in college, and then I really love board games. And so I've been playing poker since I was a teenager, and got into chess pretty recently. But I play a lot. Code names I love. I love Mafia. So I do spend a lot of my time playing games outside of work.
Yeah, awesome. So when you went to college, I've done a little bit of reading. You were impressively a homeowner as a sophomore in college. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Wow. Most sophomores aren't that responsible. What drove you to purchase a home at such a young age?
Um, it's a good question. My mom was a big proponent of being extremely frugal and saving money, and kind of viewed renting as a waste of money. And so, that principle stayed with me through most of my life. And so in college, I had the opportunity to, because of the way that scholarships are formatted, you get an upfront check to pay for housing and room and board for the semester. So I took some of that capital and used it as a down payment to buy a home. Um, but I mean, the funny story is that I had met someone in college named Ryan Johnson, who was one of our first employees at Open Door, and now the founder of Cul-de-sac. And we were in honor storm, and we were just extremely late night individuals, and we would spend lots of time, past midnight, just talking about all sorts of things, from the stock market to business to real estate. And in one of those conversations, we said it's pretty silly to rent. Why don't we buy a place? And that's really what spurred the purchasing of the first home, and then many after.
Yes, yes, yes. So all of them, you had like 20 when you graduated, right? I think I read
Something
that.
like that. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That is very impressive. So how was that experience for you as a purchaser? You're an investor, but you're a purchaser still. Was it all retail or did you get anything
No,
wholesale?
it was all single family. And there were some kind of duplexes and triplexes in there, but I mean, I've told this story before, but the process of transacting on a home just felt fundamentally broken. It actually still feels in many ways fundamentally broken. There's a lack of transparency. There's brokers involved that have misaligned incentives. It's incredibly confusing, and it's very expensive. If you think about, like, there's three big vectors in which, like, companies build against: is cheaper, better, faster. And in real estate, the transaction fails across all three. And so in my particular experience, I had bought this home that had all sorts of problems with the house. Had termites, had roof issues. There was two additions that were unpermitted. And as a first time home purchaser, it was very confusing and actually quite intimidating to the point where at the time in which I needed to decide, I was 50-50. I didn't know what to do because there's so many problems with the home. And so there's really no peace of mind when you're buying. And the way even the transaction is structured creates a lot of anxiety for each side. And so, I felt pretty passionate after I graduated college that like this needed to be solved.
Okay, okay. And so what led to that light bulb moment that got you to create Open Door?
I'm not sure if it was if it was like a flash of insight. It ended up being a combination of many different experiences merged into one. And so, the first thing I did post college was create a website to leave reviews for neighborhoods and apartments. And so it's really about bringing transparency on where to live. That ended up failing, and we sold to Apartment List, and I started a company very similar that was again aimed to provide insights and analysis on what it's like to live in a neighborhood. And that led me to Trulia. They acquired that company. I spent 2 years kind of obsessing over the transaction and what it felt like to search for a home. And as a product person, one of my principles is that you really need to put yourself in the shoes of the customer, and really understand how they think about the functional needs, about their functional needs and their emotional needs in that journey. And so it built a lot of empathy for what it meant to sell a home, to buy a home. And after Trulia, wanted to put all that experience to work. The experience of buying real estate myself, building multiple websites about transparency in real estate, spending lots of time thinking about the needs of a home buyer and home seller, and that ended up being Open Door.
Awesome. Okay. And is there any vision that you have for working with or collaborating with traditional agents?
I spent, obviously we spent a lot of time thinking about the role of an agent, and in my mind, it's not necessarily about whether you're a realtor or not. It's going back to the customer needs. A customer, if they need support and guidance and advice, then the category of companies in the industry should support that. And so the customer ultimately should decide. And that may be in the form of an agent, of which Open Door should give you that option to work with an agent or refer you to an agent, or be happy that you have an agent because you're getting some support that you need. And in the case that you don't need an agent, we should also give you that option so you can save some money. And so it's really about what the customer needs.
Great, great, great. So do you have a soft spot for any particular cause that you support, things that are near and dear to you?
Um, I recently started to give back a bit more. And a lot of it's actually centered around AAPI causes and organizations. I'm fairly active in Gold House and recently supporting the Bruce Lee Foundation. And I've done some work in housing. It's something I care about as well. And so donating to organizations that build housing for low income individuals and families. And so it's centered around things I'm passionate about right now, which is AAPI and housing. And then I think in the future, I think it's going to be a function of what are the biggest problems to solve, right? It could be something incredibly different than what I understand and where I spent time. I'm pretty excited about that as well.
Okay. So have you ever experienced anything based on your ethnic background that you feel was an obstacle for you?
I would say certainly my family was discriminated against when I was young. My mom had to overcome quite a bit of adversity, being an immigrant who didn't speak English. And some background about her is that she raised 3 kids by herself and she made $30,000 or less for 30 years. And so she's a real life hero for me. But her persistence and work ethic was really imprinted on me at an early age. I would say that I faced a fair bit of discrimination outside the classroom. Kids used to tease me because I was Asian, and and actually that was pretty pronounced in athletics. But I use that as fuel, in my life, and I actually think a lot of the reason why I put in the time and work is because I need to overcome adversity when I was younger, and I think you can view it as a a challenge, or you can view it as an opportunity to really again treat grit and work ethic and resilience as core part of your operating principles as an individual.
Mm.
And the combination of my mom overcoming so much to get to America and raise three kids by herself, paired with the fact that it wasn't easy growing up, really gave me a strong sense of again resilience and work ethic.
That's excellent. And I applaud your mother and you for just not giving up and not turning bitter, but just using it as a stepping stone to say, you know what, I'm gonna focus. So I applaud you for that. That is awesome. And I hope that, anyone who sees this is inspired for that message. Don't give up. I love it. I love it. So do you have a set morning routine?
Funny thing about this is I don't like the mornings, and so I'm an extremely late night person. And I wake up 30 minutes before I need to be somewhere on a meeting or something like that. And I actually I don't have a strict morning routine, obviously like the standard stuff, but I've read a lot of books that say having a morning routine, and I'll share one thing. My coach gets on me all the time about not having a morning routine, and so I know the benefits of it. I just don't do it because I don't like the mornings.
So it's interesting. I can't imagine your coach. I faced a lot of coaching challenges when I was growing up. I was very, very good at sports and I was hard to coach. So I can just imagine. I'll edit that out. That was my sidebar. I was like, well, I'm still winning. Nobody's
Yeah.
beating me. Oh man. So one thing I wanted to ask, what would you like your legacy to be?
It's a great question. Um, I would say that, I think my legacy would be, I want my legacy to be a kind of viewed as an individual that had a relentless focus on the right things, and which in our case, our North Star is the customer. And so having an organization and starting a company that's focused on the right things, and really just making an impact on our customer. I'd say that more broadly speaking, it's about it's about impacting people in my life in a positive way. And so we have the opportunity to interact with communities and individuals and organizations, and I want my legacy to be that I had a very positive impact on everyone in my life as well.
Yuri, that's beautiful. Are there any other industries that you can see needing a great disruption like the one you've created in real estate?
Um, I'm sure there are. I would say that there's areas of improvement for almost every vector in all industries. The thing that I go back to though is that um, real estate in particular is in my mind the most antiquated transaction in industry in the US. And it's been done the same way for 75 years, and it really hasn't fundamentally changed for the customer. And that's why we have such a big opportunity ahead for us. The other thing I've been spending time thinking about is the impact of AI, and I do believe that AI will disrupt all industries in probably a similar way that software disrupted all industries. And
Mm-hmm.
so we are either, or a company's going to either leverage AI to help them or us achieve our mission, or it will cause us to fail. And so integrating especially the speed in which it's improving into how we think about the customer experience, how we think about operational efficiency, how we think about how it helps us achieve our mission. I do believe that will become more path dependent over time. Because if we're not leveraging its capabilities, then someone else will.
Absolutely. Well, I thank you so very much for your time. I know you are extremely busy. Any last words?
Um, I appreciate the prompt. I would say that just given the topic in some of the things we talked about, I think it's important to embrace the adversity. The ability to overcome challenges, if you view it as such, is the greatest journey you can have in your career, and it gives you the greatest perspective and sense of joy, which then ultimately translates to gratitude and where you end up if you overcome a tremendous amount of adversity, something to be really proud of. And I try to have the right perspective every day of where I came from, and I feel very fortunate and grateful for the upcoming opportunities for me and for the organization. And so I'll end it with embrace the adversity.
Great last words. Thank you so very much, and we'll see you on the next All Hands.
Thank you. Bye.